Hello, my name is Laza Karoon, and I'm going to apologize in advance for the really crappy video and audio. Alright, now that that's over with, let's get right to it. I'm going to be reading aloud several short stories from a collection of them, from a book that has a collection of them called The Curiosities by Maggie Stiefvater, Tessa Grattan, and Brenda Yovnov. I highly recommend that you read it. It's really good. And, yeah, let's start with the first one. The Vampire Box by Tessa. We have a vampire living in our basement. It's my job to feed him while Dad is in Palo Alto at a convention. At 6 a.m. I pad into the kitchen in my bare feet and jersey nightgown with my robe hanging off my shoulders. I yawn, wishing I could crawl back in bed after the chore. It's the last week before finals, and I'm already in at Northwest State, so I don't really have to focus much. The motivation to show up at school is as low as it gets. Half the freezer is piled with Tupperware blood packs, and I dig out one from the bottom, grumbling to myself that Mom still isn't packing them with the oils on top for easy access. I should just take over the butcher store runs. Then she could just forget about it, which is all she wanted. While the blood heats in the microwave, I heave myself onto the counter and stare at the basement door. It's painted soft yellow. Most of the color peeled away a while ago. I went through a phase when I was in junior high where I stripped a thin line of the paint off the door every time I passed it. The lines were like prison bars holding me back. The microwave beeps when I hop down. I grab the lancet from its hook over the sink and pull the Tupperware of it out onto the counter. I yawn again just as I'm pulling off the plastic top and get a long pool of coppery pig's blood smell. I gag like a cat and dance back, making a show of myself because there's no one around to see. When I calm down, I put my hand on the counter, palm up, and take the lancet, which is a thin triangle of steel about as long as my thumb, and put the tip to my pinky. This is my least favorite part. I grit my teeth and ready myself with a massive grimace, then jab the lancet into my finger. Blood wells instantly, and I let a couple of drops fall into the Tupperware. I'm supposed to be using Dad's blood. He drained a quarter pint of it before leaving, and it's hanging in the pantry with whatever his favorite anti-coagulant is, keeping it sort of fresh. But it's bad enough that there are vampires trapped in a cage in the basement. Not even given the 2 drops of fresh blood he's promised seems unconstitutional. With the Tupperware balanced carefully in my hands, I faced the basement. I was only 5 the first time I met Saxon. For a week our water pipes would clang from the staccato pattern that echoed through the house. Dad had promised it was bad plumbing, but I woke up in the middle of the night and recognized that the pattern of clangs must be the rhythm of my favorite Clothington song. I've been playing it by myself against the kitchen floor this afternoon, and now the house pipes wanted to play with me. I crawled out of bed, snuck past Mom and Dad's room, and all the way down to the kitchen. We kept the door locked in those days, but I know how to climb onto a chair from there, onto the kitchen counter to reach the key that kept hanging inside the spice cabinet. I managed it quietly and unlocked the basement door. It was where the pipes lived, because it was where Dad went every time he tried to get them to be quiet. I couldn't reach the light switch, so it was very, very dark. Here's all I remember. The floor being rough concrete, the tiny red light bulb dangling in the center of the room, not making it any less scary. Calling out, "Pipes?" And he said my name, Nicole. I clapped and ran forward. I tripped on something and fell against the bars of his cage. He caught me in both hands, and his eyes were right in front of me, glinting red in the light. With his arms to the cage, he set me back on my feet and smiled. He played flat finger with me, longer than anyone had ever played before. We didn't stop until I was the one too tired to go on. I curled up on the floor with my backbone pushed up against the bars and fell back asleep. I tapped the rhythm of the song gently into the metal. Sorry. The wood stairs are spongy on my bed from all the dank basement air. The name knew sat, but Dad can't exactly hire a builder to come down here. Not unless he finds a theme with Saxon. I remember I can reach the light switch, of course, but I don't flip it. I prefer the gentle red light. Leave the carpet now, a long runner leading from the stairs to his cage. It's thin, and the chill of the concrete foundation still seeps up. Dad uses a long pole to scoop the blood to the cage without getting near enough that Saxon could grab him, but I walk straight to the black bars. Saxon is standing with his back to me. He's watching a square of light that fades in through the single window high up against the ceiling. The glass is shuttered over, but pink morning slips through the slats. It makes an aura around him, and I say, "Hey, Angel, breakfast." He moves slowly, lethargically, but not because he has to. There's only about 10 square feet inside the cage, and half of it is covered with stacks of books and magazines. "Morning, sunshine," he says back. We smile. I put my hands between the bars, offering him the blood. He could grab my wrists instead and tear fresh blood straight out of me, but he won't. Dad tried to make me fear Saxon after finding me asleep against the cage, but I knew at any time Saxon could have pulled me through and eaten me. I'd been small enough then that I would have fit between the bars. He'd have sucked the marrow from my bones before Dad woke up. Saxon dips a finger into the blood and paints it across his bottom lip. He told me when I was 8 that it felt the blood tingles against the skin. I put a dot on my cheek and been disappointed when it only felt wet and sticky. That meant the first time he'd laughed at me. The first time I'd seen his rows of sharp teeth. When I scrambled away, he'd painted dots of blood on his own cheeks and a long line down his nose, in solidarity. I sit down cross-legged, with my knees against the bars. He sits too, cradling the blood in his lap. As I tell him about the TV show I watched last night where they had mock battles from a samurai warrior and a Roman gladiator, he keeps dipping his finger into the blood and letting drops fall onto his tongue. He'll spend hours consuming every last bit. When I move on to complaining about my trig teacher's bad habit of putting questions on the quizzes that we never went over in class, Saxon holds up his hand. The musty grey sleeve of his shirt falls back. Dad brings him new clothes once a year, saying nothing more is necessary because Saxon doesn't sweat or pee or do anything but read all day. None of the normal stuff that makes a person dirty. But I wonder what he'd look like in a tailored suit or a really sexy pair of jeans. "I've been thinking," he says when he has my attention, and dips his finger back into the blood. "When I leave for college, I won't have any reason not to rip your father to pieces." I laugh, but Saxon doesn't. He lifts the Tupperware on the concrete floor of his cage and stands up. He wraps his hands around 2 of the bars. My laughter turns into rocks that plummet down to my feet. "You wouldn't." "I might." I stand up and curl my hands over his. His skin is warmer than mine. "Saxon." To this day, Dad nor Saxon will tell me how he came to be trapped there. To this day, neither Dad nor Saxon will tell me how he came to be trapped there. All I know is that Dad feeds him, and somehow having a vampire locked in a box near a basement is massive good luck. Dad shot from junior partner to CEO in 6 months and now basically does whatever he wants. The only reason we haven't moved into a huge house in some gay community is because of Saxon. It can't be that easy, or he'd have done it before now. His fingers move under mine, and I swear I hear the metal creak. The fool's been feeding me his blood for years. I think of the drops of my blood in the Tupperware, and how often I've used the lancet. "What does that give you?" "A taste for it." Saxon leans closer and looks exactly the way I was when I was 5 years old. His eyes gleam in the red light, but this time he doesn't seem old or strange to me. He's young. He's my friend. I used to sneak down when Dad left and help Saxon pick up the million pieces of rice Dad dropped on the cage floor to keep him occupied all day. We'd count them and drop them one by one into a tin mixing bowl. Sometimes I got bored, but Saxon didn't seem capable of stopping before every grain was collected. He'd start making up little rhyming songs to keep me down there and tell me stories about people he'd known and lives he'd lived. My favorites were the ones where he had human companions who guarded him during the day and whom he guarded at night. Probably because I could pretend he'd chosen to be here with my family, instead of imprisoned. When I was in junior high, I had a fantasy of breaking him free, bringing him to my school, and letting him go to town on all the teachers who made me talk in class, and possibly break the windows. Then we'd run off for New York or something, and I'd be a famous actress while he leaned back in the darkest balcony box and watched me. We'd spend the long hours of the night at private parties, the toast of the town, and all day we'd sleep in a quiet, dark room, waiting for the sun to go down again. It was the only way I made it through Spanish class. "What do you want?" I ask him. He doesn't reply except to sigh very softly. I can smell the blood in his breath and see a small streak of it at the edge of his bottom lip. It's not as overwhelming as it was when I was upstairs, when I first took the Tupperware out of the microwave, but I still don't like it. I rephrase. "What do you want from me?" "To go with you." My very first instinct is to go to the workbench and get the key to free him. I don't, of course. But I try to ignore my instincts. Sophomore year, somebody told me to always go with my first guess on multiple choice tests, and after that my grades improved noticeably. I tightened my hands around his. And then what? Carefree nights and peaceful days? With a little smile. I back away step by step, and off the carpet, and the coffee is rough under my toes, like I'm 5 again. Let me tell you a secret, sunshine, he whispers, leaning against the bars. His cheek presses into one, and he wraps his arms casually around it, folds his hand together. An imprisoned vampire's good luck. I know. But he holds up one finger, the one he uses to feed himself. A willing vampire. Ah, sunshine, a willing vampire, but Washington had. What Charlemagne's had. Elizabeth. Cleopatra, she got one from Caesar. I don't know if I believe him. I want to. I imagine him again in new queen clothes. Clothes he chose for himself. I don't want to be those people. He wouldn't have to be. Hundreds of people you've never heard of made friends of us, too. He could have killed me so easily, any time over the last 12 years. He hadn't. Did that mean I could trust him? Or was he only biding his time for this very moment, waiting, because to him 12 years was nothing? My brain, my dad's voice, is screaming at me to go back upstairs. But the rest of me wants to know. Wants to know if he was my friend. Wants to know if I was his friend. Because if I am, wouldn't I free him? If I went upstairs, I'm using him, just like Dad. If I let him out, he might kill me, kill my family, everyone on the block, everyone in the city for all I know. If I run, I'm afraid. If I stay, I risk everything just to prove to myself what I am. Nicole. I blank. I've been staring at him so long that the light shining through the slats of the window is strong and bright. The cycle stands unmoved, caught between the light from the windows and the red light of the basement. I walk into the sunlight and pick up the key off the work table. And that's the end. Alright, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment on the video. I'll try and respond as soon as I can. And yeah, it's the end. Next story is going to be A Murder of Gods.